So we'll take a momentary departure for a look at a new, to me, tool anyway. Kind of a beat up case, but what we've got is a Sharpe titanium T1 or T1 titanium HVLP spray gun on high volume, low pressure. Just bought it used, got a good price on it. It's a great gun for shooting color coat. This one has been used for color. The last color was yellow because they didn't clean it up great. But it's a gravity feed gun. Tank goes here, and yeah, let's take a look at what we got. Found this used, got a really good price on it, but it needs to be cleaned. It did come with some literature, which is handy. Kind of gives you the breakdown of the gun so you can see where the parts go. Some of the seals on these guns, you do have to replace them. They just tear after a little while. Sharpe guns are notorious for tearing the nozzle seal. We'll take a look at that in a minute. It's behind here. This one, fortunately, came with a bunch of rebuild parts in the case. These haven't been used. Here's that nozzle seal, just a nylon washer. But I'm not sure that all of these parts are actually for this gun. It's some of the risk you run when you buy something used. It does come with another nozzle. This one, not sure if that's going to show up on camera, but you can see there it's 1.5 mil. That's the size of the opening. This one that's in it, let's pop the fan off. This is a 1.4. So we got two different size openings, and that's right here. You can see where when we pull the trigger, the needle pulls back. The bigger the opening, the more material you're going to be able to throw, or the thicker the material. So if you're using this to shoot something heavier, you can do that. The HVLP part of this, high volume, low pressure. So at the inlet, 30 pounds coming in constant, you got 10 pounds at the nozzle, air pressure. So relatively efficient to run these HVLP guns. This is a regulator here on the back side. This controls your inlet pressure, which is right here on the gauge. So it's just one more fine control. It's kind of nice. This does have these long shank air adapters, so these are going to come off. And in fact, this one was loose enough that when I was monkeying with it, it just turned off by hand. So yeah, none of my stuff has these long shank, so that can just go away. Couple things that I've noticed is the needle is a little bit sticky. It hangs up a little bit. So what we want to do is we're going to pull the nozzle out of here and then look down in there, and I'm betting that's all gorped up. When I was looking at the canister, there's the can is nice and clean. So this was taken care of. That's good. That's one of those things that you look at if you're looking at a used gun. If the can is all gorped up, pass on it, because if that's bad, this is the easiest part to clean. And if they've neglected that, the rest of it's going to be pretty horrible. Here's the vent. It's been well used. You can see some crud in there, but the vent isn't obstructed, so it's still doing what it needs to do, but we'll probably clean that. The fan tip here, we can see a little bit of that yellow left in there. Not bad. I mean, there's nothing is obstructed, nothing is plugged, so they did clean this. Let's pull the nozzle off of there. Breaks loose. Okay, so the needle seat is in there. Looks good. It's not scored or anything. A little bit right there. Won't know until we put pressure to it if that's a problem. Sometimes, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, there's a little lip of scoring right there, and that's just from constantly ramming into that needle seat there on the nozzle. Little bit, you see that white? I'm not sure if that might just be oxidation. The guy I bought this from said that it sat for a couple of years. Nothing is plugged. I can see through everything, so we'll probably just clean that out. A little bit of lacquer thinner, a little bit of paint that's coming off the edge there, the fingernail. And down inside here's that nozzle seal that is kind of problematic on Sharpe guns. I don't know I mean, I don't shoot professionally, but when I was looking at this gun online and I looked at what the guy wanted and what I paid for it, some of the comments were that these seats go out. Of course, we do have a new one if we need it, and I looked these up. They're only $3, $4, $5 a piece. If it starts to leak, and what happens is it starts to pull air here, and it'll bubble up into your paint, and you'll get an uneven finish, which is not a good thing. Let's pull that needle out of there. So you've got a couple of controls on these guns. So the width of your spray is controlled here. The top knob. Most guns will use this. Sharpe or Apollo or Binks, or I don't know. Those are the only ones I've really ever shot with. Some of the really swanky, fancy ones, maybe they're a little different. But down here, this is the fluid flow. So this controls where that needle is. It just runs straight through. That's how much material actually goes through, and they do preset those at the factory. I don't know what that preset is, but I do know how to set the take up on these triggers. So we'll take a look at that, and you can always fine tune it for whatever you're shooting. Whenever we're taking these things apart, go slow, because it is spring loaded. Take the cap off. There's a little sleeve here. It's not too bad. A little bit of corrosion in there. It's just, I don't think it's been lubed. Should be a spring, little one. And then, if we're living right, we should be able to slide the needle right out the back of the gun. It's a little bit gummy. It's not horrible. And there it is. Okay, so let's take a look at the needle, and you can see here, maybe it'll focus, they shot black and left some of that in the gun. So anywhere that's sitting on there, that's going to hang up the trigger, and that's also a lubrication point. In the manual, here, they'll show you. There's usually 4 or 5 points. So one of them that they're showing right here where that needle slides in towards that nozzle assembly is right where this is. So it wasn't getting lubricated, and so it was binding up a little bit. Lacquer thinner is what we're going to use. that stuff. And don't use abrasives, you know, steel wool, anything like that. Just a little bit of lacquer thinner on a rag, and what we're going to do is just gently turn this, and you can see already that's coming off. You know, the tolerances on these things are so tight in a lot of cases. You start wanging away with steel wool and that sort of thing, you're going to ruin your needle. Or, you know, when you're shooting, it costs you a little more, but when you're done, blast some thinner through it, or, you know, reducer if you got it. Just blow it through clear, and then if you got to strip it down, then you don't have all this stuff to deal with. So already, just with a little bit of work, we've cleaned this off, and that's going to be a lot happier. This is the easy part, because you can get at all this stuff. Get that one more time. Now, this is the needle that was in it, so I'm assuming that this all works. Let's take a look. I haven't looked up the numbers on this other bit of parts that came with this. Here's the other needle. It's different. See? Obviously this bit in the middle, this barrel, is different. It's thicker. I don't need to pull out the micrometer to feel that that's thicker, and it's longer. So maybe that's, I don't know. I have to look. Maybe that goes with the bigger tip. That doesn't feel like it really engages all that well, though. Yeah, just have to look up the numbers. So we'll just slide that back in here. This at least has the part number. Help if you can see it. It's got the part number on the tube. It's a sharp part, but maybe not for this gun. Let's start with the nozzle. Here's where the Q-tips come in handy. This last batch I found at Menards. You can find them about anywhere. But yeah, they're just Q-tips for the shop. A little bit of lacquer thinner on there. And we're just going to rub the gorp out of the inside of this here. Hold that up where you can see it. See? Ew. It should be clean. You know, for stuff to work, you know, especially with these nicer guns, if you can keep them clean, they'll shoot really well for you for a long time. But you gotta take care of your stuff. And so already we're in a lot better shape. Let's grab another Q-tip. I usually keep a glass jar or two around. I'm going to pour a little bit of this thinner in there, just so that when I'm running those Q-tips in there, or the rags, I'm not going to contaminate the fresh jar of thinner. You know, it's not horrible, but you can see where it's some sort of yellow, you know, they were shooting yellow paint and didn't get that completely clean. What I'm going to do is, once I get this amount of cleaning done on it, this will be a prime candidate for just loading up the tank with some thinner or some paint reducer, whatever I got around, and just blow a bunch of air through it and run thinner through it to get the rest of this out. So I'll bring you back in a minute and finish cleaning that. So a few minutes and some lacquer thinner later, and we're looking pretty good. Won't know until we really run this thing up just to make sure that the seals are holding up. You know, if we got to replace them, it's not the end of the world. I popped that regulator off. I've got other regulators. This one, it should be okay. It's pretty gnarly, and you can hear that it's loose. There's a screw missing on the back of the gauge, and we'll just have to test that and see if it's actually, I don't like that, but we can monkey with that later. Let's get the notice the spot that I missed. Let's get the needle assembly back in there. A little more, should be wearing gloves to do this because lacquer thinner really rips up your hands. But I haven't been buying my good gloves lately that I like because of PPE shortages and all of that. So, kind of, you can see it takes all the oil out of your hands. Okay, so I'm not going to lube this up. I've got mineral oil, and it specs mineral oil. I want to make sure before I put anything in here that it's copacetic for using with the spray gun. Not like it's hard to take apart. So this controls the flow. You can see where when we pull the trigger, that needle pulls back. So when that needle pulls back, it allows the air and the paint to flow through the nozzle tip, and then your fan sprayer adds air from the sides and from the back to give you your pattern, right? So you want this to be full travel to give you full control. And as we turn this in, we're going to hit a point, and you're going to see I've got this trigger pulled all the way back to the stop. And as I bring this in, you're going to see a point where this trigger starts to go that way. Yeah, see, now it's snug. See it start to move? I'm exaggerating this, but you see how that's moved out quite a bit, right? And then if I start coming back, you'll see that trigger coming in. And you hit the point where I don't like it at full stop, but if you get it to where you feel it where it just bottoms out and then come back just a little bit, now you've got full travel on that, but it's not going to bottom out on that trigger stop, because this is your air valve. As you hit this, you come into your air here. And again, I haven't shot this gun yet. That's kind of where I like my baseline on those. Already that feels a lot better. Got the nozzle cleaned. This is that 1.4 that was in it. All right, take it easy because I don't want to rip that seal. Just snug. And you can see here, there's the needle in the tip, and as you open it up, it allows more and more material through. Right there. And then our fan tip goes on. And this controls where your pattern is, right? So if you've got it horizontal, it's counterintuitive, right? So if you have it horizontal, you get a vertical pattern. If you've got this vertical, you get a horizontal pattern. I think, right? Okay. So already that feels like $1 million. It's not binding up anymore, and yeah, it needs to be lubed, but rather than put something in there that I'm just going to have to clean out again, we're going to leave that alone. That's real nice. This is all clean. We still got to run some reducer through it. The lid, this little vent cap is kind of gnarly. This is plastic. I'm assuming that it's going to be fairly resistant to solvent because, well, it's meant for shooting. But I'm not going to dunk it in thinner. Yeah, see how, ugh, that's gross. That needs some work yet. So that needs to be cleaned. It should be that lighter color, and it's just been neglected. It's your vent for your tank. So I'm going to take a little bit of time and clean this up, but yeah, so new tool Tuesday, I guess. You have your fill line here, so this was used to shoot color, not clear. Sometimes when they shoot clear with these things, it causes issues. If you go to shoot color, tank screws on, Sharpe Titanium T1 HVLP. There it is. All right, well, we'll come back to this one when we got something to shoot, and we'll try it and see how it works. And then we'll come back at some point here pretty soon and keep going with our workbench organization and sorting and cleaning and all that monkey business. So yeah, so comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff down there, and be safe out there, everybody. Peace.